Nice knockoff, my stepsister sneered, pinching my midnight blue sleeve like it was dirty. My stepbrother shoved his phone at me. My other stepsister laughed. My mother looked away. Then a voice behind her said, "I'm glad you like my design. I made it exclusively for her." My stepsister froze. The champagne flute slipped from her fingers and shattered across the marble. Every head in the ballroom turned toward the man behind her. But the dress wasn't the secret that terrified my family. What my stepbrother had recorded was about to expose 3 years of cruelty and the choice my mother had made to protect them. My name is Megan Carter. I was 26 that fall. And if you had looked at the wedding photos, you might have thought I belonged there. My hair was pinned into a low twist. The dress fit me like it had been poured over my body. Midnight blue silk caught the chandelier light every time I moved, and tiny beads climbed one sleeve in the shape of constellations. The room smelled like white roses, perfume, and warm bread from the kitchen. A string quartet played near the staircase while waiters moved through the crowd with silver trays of champagne. It should have felt beautiful. Instead, I kept checking where my family was standing. My mother, Linda, was near the head table beside her husband, Richard Hayes. She wore pale gold in the careful smile she had learned after marrying into money. Richard looked comfortable in any room that had polished stone, private staff, and people who knew his name. 3 years earlier, Mom had told me about the engagement in the backyard of our old house. She had set 2 mugs of coffee on the patio table and said, very softly, "We finally get to be a family." I wanted to believe her. I had grown up with just the 2 of us. Sunday pancakes, thrift store Christmas decorations, her humming while she folded laundry. So when she said Richard had 3 children close to my age, I imagined crowded dinners, birthday jokes, maybe even sisters who would borrow my clothes without asking. What I got was Ashley, Lauren, and Jason. Ashley was 30 and managed a department at a luxury clothing store. She knew brand names, seasonal collections, and exactly how much someone's shoes cost. She also knew how to make an insult sound like advice. Lauren, 27, worked in social media and laughed whenever Ashley laughed, even when her eyes said she knew better. Jason was 24. He filmed everything. Bad haircuts, family arguments, people tripping on stairs. If someone was embarrassed, Jason called it content. And then there was me, the scholarship girl studying fashion design. That was how Ashley introduced me at family dinners. Not Megan, not her stepsister, the scholarship girl. The dress I wore that night had taken 6 months to finish. The bead pattern came from the same patch of sky I had stared at when Mom promised me a new family. I had worked on it late at night, under bright studio lamps, while the city buses groaned outside. My family knew I worked in design. They just never believed it mattered. The bride, Emily Parker, was Ashley's old college friend, and most of what she knew about me had come from Ashley. One guest from the groom's side was still missing, delayed by work, across the ballroom. Ashley spotted me. Her eyes moved from my shoes to my sleeve. Then she smiled and started walking over. I knew that smile. It always came right before she decided I needed to be put back in my place. Ashley stopped in front of me and let her eyes travel slowly down the dress. "Nice knockoff," she said. She pinched the beaded sleeve between 2 fingers, as if she were checking the quality of a clearance rack. Lauren leaned in beside her. "The stitching looks crooked," she said. "It's asymmetrical," I replied. Ashley gave a small laugh. "That's what people say when they can't afford proper tailoring." Jason was already holding up his phone. "Come on." "Megan," he said, "tell us how much you paid to look expensive." A few guests nearby turned their heads. I felt heat crawl up my neck, but I kept my voice low. "Put the phone away." He moved it closer. "Why, you look great." Lauren covered a laugh with her champagne glass. Ashley circled me once. Slow and deliberate. "The color is wrong, too. Real designers don't use blue like that." I could have explained the dye process. I could have told her how many samples we rejected before getting that exact shade. I could have described the nights I spent removing beadwork because one constellation sat half an inch too low. But every time I had ever explained my work, Ashley had turned it into a joke. So I said, "You don't know what you're talking about?" Her smile tightened. "Oh, I know enough. I work in luxury fashion. You work in some little studio and tell everyone you're building a career." The words landed harder than I wanted them to. Lauren glanced toward my mother. Jason kept filming. Ashley raised her voice. "You've always done this. The scholarship, the secret projects, the important meetings no one can verify. Now you show up in a fake designer dress and expect us to pretend you belong here." The quartet kept playing, soft and polished, while the space around us grew quiet. I looked at my mother. She had heard every word. Her hand tightened around her clutch, but she stayed beside Richard. "Ashley," she said weakly, "that's enough." Ashley did not even look at her. "We're trying to save Megan from embarrassing herself." Then Emily, the bride, crossed the room. Her smile was tense. "What's going on?" Ashley lowered her voice just enough to sound concerned. "I think Megan's wearing a copy of a protected design. People are already noticing." No one had been noticing until Ashley made sure they did. Emily studied my dress. "Is that true?" Number Ashley cut in. "Of course she'll deny it." "I can explain where it came from. We don't have time for another story," she said. Emily looked toward the photographers waiting near the staircase, then toward the guests watching us. "Megan, maybe you should step out of the formal photos until this gets sorted out." For 1 second, I could not speak. My mother finally walked over, but she did not stand beside me. She touched my elbow and guided me toward a private dressing room. "Let's handle this quietly," she whispered. The door closed behind us, and I realized the person I had been waiting 3 years to defend me had already chosen which side she was on. The dressing room was colder than the ballroom. The vent hummed above us, and the mirror lights made my skin look almost gray. My mother shut the door and turned the lock. "Please," she said, "just change into something else." For a second, I thought I had misheard her. "You want me to change? I want tonight to stay calm. Emily is upset. Ashley is upset. This is not the place to prove a point." I stared at her reflection instead of her face. "Do you believe I'm lying?" Her fingers tightened around her gold clutch. "Megan, that is not what I said. It is exactly what I asked." She looked toward the door. Even alone, she was worried someone might hear us. "I just need you to be the mature one." That sentence broke something in me. For 3 years, being mature had meant swallowing every insult. It meant laughing when Jason filmed me fixing a hem at Thanksgiving. It meant saying nothing when Lauren called my work a hobby. It meant sitting through dinner while Ashley asked whether my big meeting was really just another unpaid shift. And every time I looked at my mother, she gave me the same small, pleading smile. "Let it go. Keep the peace. Do this for me." I looked down at the constellations running across my sleeve. I had sewn them from the memory of a night when I still believed my mother was building a home for both of us. Now she was asking me to erase myself to protect it. "I'm not changing." Her head snapped up. "Megan, I'm not apologizing either. You're making this harder than it needs to be." "No." Ashley made it cruel. "You made it normal." The color drained from her face. There was a knock. Rachel, the event manager, opened the door just enough to speak quietly. "Emily would prefer that Megan remain outside the main ballroom until we verify the dress." My mother looked relieved. That hurt more than the request itself. I picked up my wrap and walked past her. "You don't have to escort me out." I told Rachel, "I'm leaving on my own." The hallway smelled faintly of coffee and furniture polish. Behind us, the music swelled as the wedding coordinator prepared to announce the couple. We had almost reached the lobby when the elevator doors opened. A tall man with silver at his temples stepped out beside his assistant. Daniel Brooks still wore the dark overcoat he used when he came straight from work. His eyes found the dress first. Then they found my face. "Megan," he said, "why are you leaving?" Before I could answer, Ashley's heels clicked across the marble behind us. She wore a fake designer dress to the wedding. She said, "We're trying to handle it discreetly." Daniel looked at her for a long moment. He did not raise his voice. He did not introduce himself. He simply glanced at my sleeve and asked, "What?" "Exactly." Makes you think this dress is fake? Ashley smiled, stepped closer, and lifted her champagne glass. She thought he was inviting her to prove me wrong. What he was really doing was giving her one last chance to stop. Ashley tilted her glass toward my sleeve. "Start with the stitching," she said. "It's uneven. No serious designer would let that leave a studio." Daniel studied the seam. "That line is offset on purpose. It changes the way the fabric moves when she walks." Ashley's smile flickered. She tapped the skirt, then explained the color. "That blue is too dark for evening photography." Daniel looked at me. "How many dye tests did we reject?" 4. 5, his assistant corrected. The fourth turned green under warm light. A few guests had followed us into the hallway. The bride stood near the ballroom doors. My mother stayed behind her, pale and silent. Ashley laughed. "Fine, the beadwork still looks cheap." Daniel's eyes hardened. "Do you recognize the pattern?" She glanced at the constellations climbing my sleeve. "Stars." "Which ones?" Ashley said nothing. Daniel turned to the fabric beneath the chandelier light. "It is a map of the autumn sky over the city, reconstructed from a specific night 3 years ago. Megan designed the layout herself." My throat tightened. He looked back at Ashley. "I'm glad you like my design. I made it exclusively for her." The champagne flute slipped from her fingers. It struck the marble with a sharp crack. Glass scattered around her shoes, and champagne spread across the floor. For one clean second, nobody moved. Then Ashley whispered, "Your design." Daniel removed his coat and handed it to his assistant. I supervised the piece. Megan developed the bead pattern, solved the internal structure, and completed most of the handwork. She did not buy this dress. She helped create it. Ashley's face changed. First confusion, then recognition, then fear. "You're Daniel Brooks." "I am." She looked at me as if I had tricked her. "You never said you worked with him." "I told you I worked in design." "You said a studio. That is where designers work." Lauren lowered her glass. Jason's phone was still raised, but his expression had gone blank. Ashley shook her head. "This proves nothing. He could be covering for her." Daniel's assistant, Hannah, stepped forward with the portfolio case she had brought from their earlier meeting. "I have the project materials." She opened it on a console table. There were my first sketches, covered in notes, photos from fittings, close shots of my hands attaching beadwork, images of the dress in pieces across a work table, the dates stretched across 6 months. Emily stared at them. "Oh my God, Rachel." The event manager faced me. "Megan, I'm sorry. I should have verified what I was told before asking you to leave." I nodded once. I was not ready to make her feel better. Daniel closed the portfolio. "There is one more thing. Megan accepted an offer to join our design team 3 days ago. The decision followed months of review. Tonight had nothing to do with it." My mother finally looked at me. "You got the position I was going to tell you after the wedding." Ashley stepped closer and lowered her voice. "This got out of hand." "I was only trying to help." "No," I said. "You were trying to humiliate me. It was a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding happens when someone lacks information." "I gave you the truth for 3 years. You kept calling it a lie." Jason slowly lowered his phone. The screen was still recording. Ashley noticed. "Delete that," she snapped. He looked at me. "Megan, do you want me to? I'm not telling you what to do with your phone, but I won't lie about what happened to protect any of you." Ashley swallowed. Then she tried one last move. "Maybe you could introduce me to Daniel sometime. Once everyone calms down." I looked at the broken glass at her feet. "I will never use my reputation to recommend someone who used hers to call me a fraud." For the first time since I joined their family, Ashley had nothing to say. And for the first time, I did not need her silence to feel like a victory. Dinner still happened. The quartet returned to its music, waiters replaced the broken glass, and the ballroom slowly filled with conversation again. But nothing at our table felt the same. Ashley sat with her shoulders rigid, staring at a plate she never touched. 2 women from her store had witnessed everything. Each time, one of them glanced over. Ashley lowered her eyes. No one needed to punish her. She had done that herself. Lauren found me near the coffee station. We didn't know, she said. I looked at her. You didn't know because you never wanted to know. Her lips parted, then closed. If you mean your apology, I added. Start by not laughing the next time someone is being humiliated. She nodded. But I did not hug her. 3 years of cruelty did not disappear because the room had finally changed sides. Jason approached a few minutes later with his phone turned off. Should I delete the video? That is your decision? He looked confused. You made the recording, I said. You decide what kind of person keeps it, shares it, or learns from it. But I will not pretend it never happened, Emily apologized next. Her mascara had smudged near one eye. I believed Ashley because she was my friend. You believed her before you asked me. I know. I accepted the apology, but I did not tell her everything was fine. It was not. Richard waited until Daniel stepped away before coming over. This was an unfortunate family misunderstanding, he said. I almost laughed. A misunderstanding does not last 3 years. His jaw tightened, but there was no answer that could make him look innocent. Outside! The night air hit my face like cold water. Cars rolled beneath the hotel canopy, their tires whispering over damp pavement. My mother followed me into the lobby. Megan, please come home. We can talk. I am not coming back to that house. Her face crumpled. I was trying to keep this family together. No, you were protecting your marriage by asking me to absorb the damage. I love you. I know. But love that never stands up becomes another place to hide. I told her I would not attend another family gathering where cruelty was called teasing. I would not live in a home where peace meant my silence. If she wanted a relationship with me, it would begin with honesty, not excuses. Daniel waited several feet away, giving me the dignity of making the choice myself. When the car arrived, I got in and turned off my phone. Ashley had already sent 3 messages, for the first time. The silence did not feel like rejection. It felt like freedom. 1 week later, I walked into the studio as a junior designer. My midnight blue dress hung beside my new desk, its beaded constellations catching the morning light. For years, that pattern had represented the family I thought I was gaining. Now it represented the woman I became when I stopped begging to be believed. Ashley lost credibility because people finally heard her clearly. My mother and I still had work to do. Maybe we would repair things. Maybe we would not. But revenge was never the broken glass. It was the moment I stopped letting their version of me become my truth. If you have ever had to protect yourself from family, share your story in the comments. And subscribe so you never miss another story about choosing your own worth again.